Okay, welcome to Pass the Mic for Friday, July 28th, 2023, episode 79. Michael Piotti here on Zoom. Joining me, Mr. Michael Gerasi. Hello.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Down to the final days of July. We'll be back to work pretty soon.
Pretty soon, it's coming fast. I saw a Facebook post, a meme. July 1st just was 5 minutes ago. Now it's already July 25th.
Yeah, to me, July goes fast. July goes fast. And then really, like you said, having kids in sports or any August, like I just got back from getting my son his physical. Whether you're be a athlete or marching band, you're really starting in a week. Like and we're again. I was on my vacation. I was talking to a couple from LA, and the wife was a teacher, and the husband was a helicopter supervisor of LAPD. So it's pretty interesting to talk about differences between California and Michigan. Let's just say that our real estate dollar goes a lot further here in Michigan.
I can imagine.
But they were shocked that we don't start till after Labor Day. And I'm like, that's the old Michigan up north, which we're going to tie into a little later, right? For like some overrated, underrated.
Yeah, there's some even locally. I know Wyandotte goes in earlier. That's such an antiquated notion. It's time to.
Yeah, I know, and you can work your calendar around it. I mean, you could give like a 4-day weekend around Labor Day. I mean, it's not like everyone else has like the whole week before Labor Day off. Nurses are working.
Yeah,
auto plants are working. So it's not like we're doing anything crazy different. But I'm not here to, I get it. I get it. The up north economy. I don't want to squash it. We had a great episode last week where we talked about. We expanded upon our discussion of the historical moments, the JFK moments. So a lot of it was feedback. I don't know if you got any more feedback. I know Miss Browning ribbed us a little bit on Facebook last night, calling her old. There was only a 5-year gap between Reagan's assassination and assassination attempt. I'm sorry, and the Challenger. The problem is, if you're only 5 years old,
exactly.
5 to 10 is a really big gap of.
Or in my case, 3. But yes, correct.
But no age. She was just joking around. But happy 29th birthday to Miss Browning out there. So.
I didn't get much. A little bit about a person I had mentioned, an old friend of mine named Kimani, who again I don't think is listening, but my buddy said, I had mentioned how he called me crying after the election, and I said that he's not the type of person. Well, they gave it to me a little bit. So he is that type of person. He's emotional about everything. So
okay,
outside of that, not too much. I think I'm not going to say the topic had overplayed itself, but we sort of so much feedback. We had to have a second episode about it,
and it was all feedback. So there wasn't, and again, I don't think we made any errors. So I think we've gotten those all in. I think it was a really good topic. And like I said, now it comes to what will our kids remember? And I think, like we said, we talked about it a little bit last time. The COVID shutdown is probably definitely going to be on there, along those lines. So that's it was a great topic. It was really interesting that it brought us across 2 weeks. So that's really cool. Mike of the week. Do you have anything?
Yeah,
do you have a person?
It's getting tricky, and I'm trying all these different derivatives of the name Mike, or in this case, a different language altogether. The name Miguel. We've done Miguel Cabrera, although we found out that that's not his real first name. But I'm going with the R&B singer Miguel, just Miguel, like Madonna.
Oh, he's sort of like Madonna.
Yeah, he's had some hits over the years, and going all the way back to I want to say the mid 2000s. But he's had some hits recently in the last like 6 months. So I'm going with the R&B singer Miguel.
So I think that's our second Miguel, I believe. And our third non-English, we had Mikhail, right? Didn't we have Mikhail Gorbachev?
We did. I'm thinking we had some others as well, but
Miguel Tejada. I'm sorry, Miguel. Didn't we have Miguel Tejada?
Miguel Tejada, but I'm thinking, if we've done any Mitches, we did Michelle Obama.
Oh, yes. Yep. Micah Parsons,
Micah Parsons, yes.
So I just printed up some new pictures. We got our wall. We really got to update with the summer.
We do. We're gonna have a busy.
Thankfully for my HP Easy Print membership, I got tons of pages in the queue to waste color pictures on. So I'm like probably one of the few people left that has a printer on. But you'd be surprised. Like we were just talking too before we went on the air about getting ready to do a passport. If you don't have a printer at home, you're stuck going there to the place and grabbing a pen and a blank form and filling it out there, and it takes time. You want to make sure you get that all right. So
No, and even in the fall, you fall coaches expect us to have those emergency forms that you got to print those out, and
yeah,
so
yep. Um, all right, this week education. You reached out to me about this one, as we always throw back ideas as the week goes on, and basically going along the lines. And correct me if I'm miswording this because I'm going by based upon the text message. Is basically how are you approaching the job differently now compared to your first years, right? Like what things do you feel more comfortable doing? I guess more. How are you more comfortable in your own skin? Is that along the lines?
no, actually, actually, Mike, the complete opposite. We probably should have wrapped this one up a little bit more. The complete opposite, in a sense that, and if you want to run with that, that's fine, because I think it still works in the same umbrella. But um, here's how this thing played out. Here's how this happened. Jason Aldean has this controversial song right now, and all through Facebook, everybody has an opinion.
Yes.
Um,
Everyone's
a
fighting
former,
over songs and movies.
yes,
The
a former
important, the
student
important.
posted about it, her perspective as an African American female, and it's decidedly different than the majority of Facebook posts that I see. She's very opposed to the song, mostly because, in her mind, filming it in the spot that he did, which is outside of the courthouse where a black man was lynched, was in poor taste. And she really she posted something, and we ended up talking and corresponding a little bit on Instant Messenger. And she posted about how something I did, God, like almost 15 years ago in the classroom, that I thought, oh man, I don't think I would do that today.
Oh, so the opposite.
The opposite,
Okay. Well, you can. I just got to
and
twist it around, but
but in all honesty, and maybe that's it. Again, we should have talked about this a little bit more.
no, it's
Maybe
fine.
that's
It's totally. I think
another day.
we may have done something like that anyway earlier. I think about like how we've changed as educators.
Yeah,
So that was similar. But again, flipping it back, it's just easy. I just got to flip it back around. But good, that's
yeah.
fine.
And so in 2016, as an example, that's kind of what I learned, just how polarized and sensitive of a time we lived in. Um, that election was really, really, really tough to teach at that time, a social studies class. And to be honest with you, I ended up kind of offending both sides, and really through not too many overt statements. But in this case, I looked at what she said, like I had shown a clip of something, and I thought, man, I would not touch that today. And a part of that, I actually discussed this a little bit with the Pates, discussed this a little bit with Deontay in Arizona. And, Elizabeth told me, you got to tackle this one head on. And so I am just, I guess what I've learned, it's almost like a police officer. I think police officers, I remember the movie Colors as an example. I'm not sure if you've seen that, but the movie Colors, you have a young Sean Penn and an
Robert
older
Duvall.
Duvall. Perfect, like dichotomy between two very different police officers. The older veteran police officer doesn't want to fight every battle, much more understanding the community he's living in, versus a younger guy that, probably with good intentions, but seems to want to fight every single battle and has that, the me against the world mentality. And I think when you're older, you just, now I have kids. At that time, I probably had Natalia, and she probably had just been born not long before that. But I just view it a little bit different now. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing necessarily, but I am not trying to ruffle any feathers, so to speak. I don't want anybody to ever accuse me of indoctrination. I think I've done a pretty good job of that. And so, it just struck me when she wrote this. I wanted your thoughts on it. Again, we didn't have much time to talk. I spent a little bit of time up north. It's a little spoiler for what's come later on in the episode here, but I just thought to myself, man, I've really changed. And I don't know if it's good or bad, because I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I want to just go home and not have to deal with the drama of upsetting people, and take my kids to their sporting events, enjoy watching their sporting events. And so as a veteran teacher, while a lot of times you get more comfortable in your own skin in the classroom itself, I think you also kind of get comfortable on the job itself too. And that might not be so good in a lot of cases. And she wrote me and said, I was so grateful that you did that. It made me feel so good. And again, Mike, all it really was a clip that I obviously stuck with her. She remembered it very well and mentioned it. So that's why I chose the topic.
I think what goes along with the change in the last 15, 20 years is and again, you mentioned like indoctrination, and we see stuff on TV where all it takes is like a 30-second video clip that's a
Yes.
segment of a
Take it out
longer
of
period
context. Yes,
taken
yes.
out of context or whatever. And when this whole battle of cancel culture, which either way, to me, if there are certain things that people do that you deserve to be canceled. Let's just, I mean,
Sure.
there are sins, whether they're
Absolutely.
right sins, left sins, whatever, that we deserve to be done hearing from you. You've lost your, position. Now, do some people is there collateral damage? Are there some things that are sort of overblown or like we said? So I think that fear, we didn't have that fear 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
I mean, the video capability in the
Yes, yes.
in the spread more even more so than the video, because they're, believe me, I'm on a grainy video complaining after a track meet that was flipped on a, like probably filmed on a Nokia in 15-second clips. All right. It's more now of the spreading of the information. You know, you could be a teacher anywhere in some small town in Arkansas, and you could be you could be on the nightly news within 24 hours.
Mhm.
Within 24 hours, and that is, I mean, you don't have to. Not even the nightly news. The people can stream their own stuff.
Yeah.
Even when cameras and video stuff came out initially, somebody still had to pick up on that back in the day.
Right, right.
Somebody had to pick up on that. Like, do we want this to be a story? Yes, we do. The news networks will pick it up. You don't even need the news networks now. I'm honest.
No.
We joke around about TikTok sometimes. I honestly hear about things earlier on there, and then like 2 nights later, it's on the nightly news. I'm like, I'll tell
Right,
my wife, I go, oh my God, I saw that person film that and put it on TikTok. There's a percentage of stories that, I mean, yesterday, Mitch McConnell
right.
had that possibly a stroke on live TV. I don't know what it is. It's awful. It's scary. I saw that before it hit Twitter, before it hit
Right,
CNN,
right,
because somebody had it up on TikTok within the crane that fell in New York City. So I think that's part of our hesitation just with anything. And then
right.
there is, in the last 2 or 3 years, there's this whole segment, and you mentioned the word again. There's a segment that thinks that public educators or public school teachers are on this mission to brainwash people. There is
Mhm.
a segment out there that is waiting for that, wants to jump on it and share it
Yes,
anytime they want.
yes, yes.
So that's in the back of your head as well, which is absolutely ridiculous. I
Mhm.
can't brainwash my own son that I'm living with
Right,
all the time to turn off this
right,
damn light in his house, in this room.
right.
My wife had to buy an Amazon plug so we could yell it over the speaker to turn it off.
Right.
But meanwhile, I'm going to brainwash somebody else to
No, and it's
do something else.
and there's that meme that went out. If we really were brainwashing kids, we'd have them put the comma in the right place. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like it's
SAT scores would be through the roof.
right, right. It's just it's not there. And on top of that, social media was a thing. MySpace was around at that time, and Facebook probably had just come out. I hope I'm right about that. Thereabouts, Twitter, but now obviously with everything else, so many things can be taken out of context. And it's tough. And so that's probably why there's more of a hesitation on my part. And frankly, I like I said, I don't like. I have thin skin. I've admitted that on this show. I've admitted to you several times. I don't like being accused of things. I even at that time I tried to play it middle of the road. I just was willing to do things that now, man, like I said, she told me I showed that clip. I'm like, I wouldn't touch that now. So yeah,
I think if you had to take it from me, um, I was much more apt to, and again, this probably goes with the whole. Not, and again, I don't think I do anything wrong, but I was probably a little more harsher on people earlier in my career, saying things out of
yeah,
track and field, ribbing
yeah,
on people, giving people a hard time. I know in the, even in the classroom or the library, and now I'm a little more less mode to do that, and that's a twofold thing. That's like one fold is what we talked about earlier. Someone records like 10 seconds of a
right,
situation, and
right,
then it's 10 seconds and not the whole 3 minutes that were before it. But also, I've grown more compassionate in understanding that this kid may have had, we've talked about this before, they may be coming in from a lousy situation at home.
right,
They may be, they may be having we all have crappy mornings where we've blown up, and normally we wouldn't do. I use that line all the time. Unfortunately, someone during the school year is going to get my wrath, and somebody else probably did something much worse earlier in the year,
sure,
but I was just on a bad stretch and a bad week. But I try to get that even fewer in between. I try to do that as a parent too. Like it's just, and I think that's just something with age that you get better at. You like
right.
tend to, but I mean, but in the back of my mind, there is the whole, there's always a camera, there's always audio going. So, that sort of thing, that's
Yeah,
something to definitely think about. When I had the initial thing in my list too. I think something that goes along with this too is I was much more rigid in my scheduling and stuff early in my career. Okay, so and now I'm much more like, we talk about like things pop up, a fire alarm goes off.
Right.
You have to have that flexibility built in. And if you don't, you're going to make the job harder on you, you're going to make it harder on the kids.
And and you could certainly apply this in your leadership skills class, because every single day something I'm sure comes up, not necessarily in the classroom, but certainly in their lives. You have to be flexible, and there's teachable moments that you, as a teacher, you are truly doing a disservice if you bypass those moments in order to fulfill some requirements that are there, that checking some box, that they're going to remember those teachable moments much more than the box you check because it's state standard, 4 section 3 note 2 says so, so yeah.
I think it's a great skill, and we do a lesson in leadership skills, not only about like, flexibility and time management, but when things go wrong, that's the heart. That's whether it's in leadership or just in life, things are not going to go as planned,
Right.
and you can either implode and be a disaster, or you can react to those things. When I show, that's when I show clips from, the crash landing on the Hudson River with Sully. Like you're expecting, most flights, 99, like we said, 99% of flights work as exactly how they're supposed to. When something like that happens, it's how you react. He could have panicked and, just crashed into Bill. He, in his mind, he didn't imagine that everyone was going to survive. He needed to put that down somewhere where he is not going to do more harm in this metropolitan area. And it just worked out perfectly. And like they say, it's like a 1 in a million chance. Well, things are, I use the example of, we have situations like this. You book something, you expect it to be done and ready, and then you go, and then it may not even be any fault of yours. I had a pizza luncheon for these leaders. I went and had it ordered. I go show up, I ordered it the day before, and then they just forgot. Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. I didn't do anything wrong,
Right.
but it's still on me to solve this problem.
Right. That doesn't solve the issue that you didn't do anything wrong.
And I think a lot of times the best students that go on to do things, whatever their academic grades are, because there's going to be 4.0 students that get into a punched in the gut situation like that just drop the ball. They can't handle it because it wasn't expected. And there'll be 2.0, 1.5 students that are on the ball that can say, okay, no big deal, shift, you know what I mean? It's a skill that you really have to learn. And it's not something that you can really teach in school, right? Like you can tell them about it and you can say to try to be prepared, but there is an element of panic, everyone, and that's like the first lesson I always teach with that is the first lesson, because it's like a biological response. You got to control that panic. Your anxiety, it's going to happen. You're a human, you're an animal when it comes to it. And when something goes off, the initial reaction of your body is going to try to panic. You know what I mean? It's going to try. And if you can control that, that's how you solve the problem. I'm not going to lie. When I went to that pizza place and I had to feed 50 elementary kids in 30 minutes and they said, oh, we don't have it.
I can't imagine you calmly.
For a second or two, like I was like shocked. So I'm like, okay, and then I calmed down, and it took about 45 minutes, 50 minutes, but the problem was solved. And that's something that I try to, instill in our students. So I think it's a great topic, but don't be afraid of, I don't think there's anything wrong with having those conversations. I think with some I think sometimes people go to their corners right away and we've talked about this before, don't even listen to the other side for a second. Hey, wait a minute. It's not necessarily the lyrics. Yes, there's plenty of songs that have lyrics that are confrontational still to this day, like we talked about, Baby It's Cold Outside as an old, there's imagery and stuff in this video, that's beyond the lyrics, what I mean? And think about that for a second. And again, we also talked about this. We don't need you to go from here all the way to here, but you know what? Maybe come over here a little bit this way and say, okay, you're right. I get it. That part is, which by the way, I read somewhere today that the video has been edited a little, probably taking out that little courthouse scene. I'm just guessing, but there's been some editing done or some riot scenes.
I think those are riot scenes right now. Yes.
So that's just what I heard. And then just off the record of all topics, it's not even that good of a song. I mean, we're not talking about like, we're not talking, it's not Friends in Low Places. Okay.
To me, it's a song that's been done so many times too. And I've used,
he's a poor old working boy living in a little shack somewhere.
Yeah.
Ask his first wife.
I've used Hank Williams Jr.'s Country Boy Can Survive in the classroom to show that the transition from the rural small town feel that Aldean seems to be talking about, that he must have gotten in a city of 200 and some thousand, to, you know, the industrial country that we eventually became. And it's a good, you know, feel. You get the feel of what the feelings were. That was 42, 43 years ago, and you know, the song's just being redone. Which
But I don't have again. I don't have any problem with that. There's many musicians that
oh,
write and
absolutely.
sing about things that I'm not asking. But again, don't act like that's the true life. You know what I mean? Like
I didn't know this either. He didn't even write the song, so
yeah.
I did not know that till today.
Um, I'm not sure you'd want to take credit anyway. So, but great topic. After we cleared it up and got that
Yes,
all understood. So, again, well said. And you know, like I said, it's going to be another great year for us as vet. You know, I would like to get like a young teacher on one day to see what their mindset is and what they're
sure.
going into the school year. You know, that'd be pretty good. Maybe we'll have to do that with like our newest hires coming up. All right, overrated, underrated. You did a little camping.
Yeah.
And so we thought we'd tie that in. I think we did camping maybe once before. We didn't, but we did. We're going to do up north Michigan, which is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And we're not even going to get into the old bit of where does up north start. All right, that's like an old bit, right? Or are we? Is that something you were going to do?
No. Why?
I mean, that seems to be like the old bit around here. Where does up
Absolutely.
north start?
Right. Because people
Yeah,
in the UP, they view it, they said downstate, because whenever they hear up north and we're talking about Traverse City, but no,
yeah, yeah. That seems like, and I don't know. The Free Press does stories on whatever, so that's not part of mine at all. So overrated. What is your overrated for up north Michigan? Which, by the way, is beautiful. We're very blessed. It's like,
Can I do another old bit though?
yeah, sure,
Camping.
camping. Oh, so because that being connected with being up north.
Yes, yes.
All right.
And you know what? This was
How many
so
nights were you camping?
I didn't camp very many nights at all.
Okay.
Um, and it was a different sort of campground. It was in Roscommon, off of Higgins Lake, and I had actually been there before, not in this specific campground, but I had a friend I used to spend time at his cottage that was on Higgins Lake. It's a pretty neat place, and there was a beach there. There was a lot to do. So I'll preface by saying that I always come back to, so I'm doing the old bit just of camping itself, and not necessarily. I've learned to adjust the idea. Campers will tell you the difference between glamping and camping. The glamping is where, you know, you're in the camper or motorhome, whatever it is you're in, whereas camping is true camping. But man, there was some people around us in tents, and I just I don't get it. So that's just, and again, it's not even, I'm not judging negatively. It's just not for me. And so I know some people really love it, and that's, to me, that's why it's the overrated. So I'm doing the old bit. I've said it so many times, but I'll say it
Well, to
again.
each their own. Again, it's not my sort of thing, and mine's going to sort of tie into it. I've gone up north and I've gone to various places. Years ago, I stayed at like my uncle's cottage, which is up near like Grayling, I think, or Gaylord, that area, which I think is, sometimes people say that's the start of up north. I don't know. Some people say there's a Walkie Bridge. We did Mackinac, like most people, right? Mackinac City, staying in the city, then spent some time on spent a day on the island, and then a little bit in the UP. And then we also did Traverse City for a stay out there. Um, I'm not, let me, you know, I'm not the Four Seasons lifestyle. I'm not the Ritz Carlton. Okay. But this is my overrated. It's up north lodging. If you're not camping, and I totally understand why, because really, what do you say, about 40% of the year, there's not many people probably going up there, right? Like,
Sure.
I'm guessing, you know, winter months, it's much less travel. That's why we have the Labor Day. That's why they do that, so that September can still be used as a month for people to visit. So there are some, you know, there's exceptions. There's like, you know, there's the Grand Traverse Resort is obviously a nice place, and there's like a Great Wolf Lodge out there. And then in Mackinac Island, the Grand Hotel is beautiful, very expensive and beautiful. But then mostly everything else are just like these little, you know,
Are we
Super
missing
8
any? Yeah, but you're right. I can't
comforting.
think.
I think the only like two big hotels or three big hotels are the ones I mentioned, and they're very pricey. They're almost like Ritz Carlton levels. So to me, there's no, you're taking a risk in most of they're little, you know,
Yeah,
because, and I understand I'm not going to invest in a nice, you know, like
right,
Marriott that's only going to be in demand for 6 months, right? Really 4 months,
right,
you
right.
know. And then so like those other places that I mentioned, you know, they have to charge a lot because they're expensive and
Yes,
nice.
right.
And yeah, I get it. Probably the Great Wolf Lodge gets some more, a little more winter business because there's a indoor water park attached to it, but it's not like you have, most of your hotels are just like little motel stop
Right.
places. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Mhm.
that's the thing. But I understand why. I'm not, my
Yeah,
head's not in the
naturally,
sand.
of course, but
My head's not in the sand. And so, and those places do pretty well too, because it's like anything else. They have to charge a lot more in the summer months, because I'm guessing the winter months, Mackinac City is not seeing a ton of people staying in it.
right. You're getting a small percentage of hunters. You're getting a small percentage. I know even Matt Jablonski works on our staff, loves going, talks about the UP being God's country, and it is beautiful. I believe he goes, spends winters, and he's not even a hunter, but in general, you're getting a small.
Yeah. So no Hyatt Regencies,
No,
no
no.
Hyatt Regencies of Mackinac City or Gaylord coming in. All right, what is your underrated?
So before I get to my absolute underrated, I didn't realize this, and maybe I just forgotten. Do you know at a certain point the speed limit becomes 75?
I haven't been up north in quite a while, so I wasn't familiar with that. I know my trip out west was crazy. When you get into like Wyoming and Montana, I think it's 80.
Yeah, it just caught me off guard. I think it was after Bay City. That really caught me off guard, and it was pretty nice. Going 82, 83, stretching the boundaries and not being as worried about getting pulled over. It just caught me off guard. But with that being said, my underrated, I love local mom and pop establishments, and I really love the local mom and pop establishments when it comes to foods and things like that. For instance, the UP, a popular food is let me make sure I say this right, pasty.
I
Get that
believe
one?
that's it. Yeah, they
Yeah,
have a
so I don't
place
want.
in Flat Rock that makes them, I think.
Yes, you're right, but I don't want to say the wrong thing
You
because
may
I
have
don't.
just offended all the, they're gonna be calling us trolls. And I don't know, because I've never tried one. They don't
Well,
seem.
the opposite of that, when you're talking about the same word, just is spelled, I believe it's spelled the same, is something more bodily oriented. So I believe it's pasty. They're wonderful foods, and you go to these different places. There's these little, whether it's honey. I can't look at you right now. I don't know why. All
Well,
these
they got one
different.
of those in Flat Rock too. The little place on, I forget the name of it now. It's like a little honey jam tea shop.
And
I'm
I
drawing a
mean, there's
blank.
a Calder's where they do
Yeah,
locally grown honey. I'm just giving you some examples.
yeah.
And it's, to me, that's
There's a
awesome.
lot more of them up there because there's less
Yes.
chains.
Yeah, and right, and so the mom and pop establishments, I think it's just so neat. That does what sucks is on this trip up north and back here, I did not stop at any of those. It's one of those things I wish I could do more of. You always just feel rushed whenever you're
You want to get
traveling.
home. You want to get. I
Yes,
get it.
you
Yeah.
want to get to
Yep.
where you're going. You want to get home. And I always mentally, well, next time I'll make sure I do that. And the times I've gone to those places, they're just so awesome. It really is. To me, that's small town America. Those type of things that you talk about. Those mom and pops making awesome foods that are locally grown and all that stuff. I think it's great. That's the type of stuff Wally writes about in his zine. So
Oh yeah, I
that's,
heard second issue is about to be done. He's working on it currently.
yeah, I have his first issue to pass out to some of our.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm really proud of him. That's a pretty cool
It
accomplishment.
is
So,
cool. It is cool.
all right, my underrated, and I sort of almost hinted at it back when I saw about the lodging, is that up north, the beauty of up north is that it can be whatever you want to be, because there's so many different types and different types of locations of what you want to do, right? Like, all right, you mentioned the UP. The UP is, and I'm not talking, for a lot of people, the UP is just getting over the bridge a little bit, and then going to the falls that are right there, about a 40-minute drive. But there's Painted Rocks. There's going all the way to the Sioux Locks. Then there's that whole far west side.
Yeah,
Have you ever been to the far west?
I haven't. I think as far west as I've been, I think was Marquette.
Okay, so there's, I mean, if that's your thing, that's your thing. There's on the east side, of course, we mentioned Mackinac City, going over, spending time on Mackinac Island, which is it's just sort of like a fantasy world, and sort of way, just a whole different type of world. If you want to be into more like the Traverse City area, you got that. If you want to do, and then, but you also have everything that's sort of in between there, those little towns like you mentioned, of like camping and all the inner lakes and that sort of thing. Gaylord, Great Lake. So it's not just one thing for one type of person. You can, if you're not a camper, the up north is still accessible to you.
Absolutely.
And but if you're more of a winter sport person, to me, that's the difference between a lot of like just destinations and other places. It's one thing and you go there. The UP I mean, the up north of Michigan, you can make it what you want to make it. That's there's plenty of options. Some of them, the couple that I mentioned, are very obviously very touristy, right? Like very gift shops and that sort of thing. But if you don't want that, you can sort of find, like you said, small town that has just a couple things and a quiet lake. I know people that have these, the nature of up north having a second place. That's just to get away. We know multiple people that have these sort of places, and that's what it is for them. It's not a touristy thing. It's just getting away to quiet, and it is. It's a whole. I mean, you look at the air quality the other today and yesterday. I went downtown the other day and on the boat, and I took some pictures and like what downtown looked like just with the smog. You know what I mean? It's just you get up north and that's a very nice feature. So my underrated, it can be anything for everyone. If you're going up there, you can do plenty.
I do have to say the air quality was not good up there either, though.
Oh, really?
It's
The smoke was
yes,
still,
yes,
yeah.
yeah,
Mm. All right, that's up. We'd love to hear what other people. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm not a big up north guy. I don't own a place. I mean, I've been
sure.
only up there a couple times. We'd love to hear. We know we have some experts that are in the listening audience that will probably shoot down some stuff or whatever. But we'd love to hear what people think of what they're overrated, underrated for up north Michigan. It's that time of year. It's getting those last. I know one thing that might be overrated too is if your departure times. I know people that I talk to, like like if you're fortunate enough like us that have time off, but that whole around the weekend thing, how
Yeah.
75 gets backed up. Like if you're
Oh
coming
man.
home,
Mhm.
I've heard stories about people leaving at like, 3 in the morning, just weird stuff
Right,
because
right.
it gets down to 2 lanes, and I'm sure that's gonna be something on there. So okay, hot mic take. What do you got for this week?
So I had something. I've always thought this an iconic movie that I love with an iconic moment, but there was something in it that always has kind of like just stuck in my mind. And they mentioned it on Sports the other day. I'm like, yeah, finally somebody else said it. Field of Dreams. Last scene, he has a catch with his dad. Do you remember what he says to his dad? You know,
No, I've seen the movie, but I don't watch it as often. So I have.
he says to him, "Hey,
Don't come
Dad."
to Yellowstone.
That's we can we can do this for days with Kevin Costner too. You interrupted my iconic moment, man.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Um, hey, Dad, do you want to have a catch? And you don't have a catch. You want to play catch? Like, and it was something again. They mentioned on and again, Mike, that movie. That's the dramatic scene in one of my top 5 all-time favorite movies. It's an amazing scene. But I always thought, why does he say "have a catch"? I've never heard that. Is that regional? Is that what they say in Iowa? Or is this something that maybe other people should be upset about too? Upset's a strong word, but it's something that just stuck with me. And they said it the other day on sports as I was watching. I was like, yeah, I've always
Like
they didn't mention
complaining
the
about
movie.
it.
Yeah, and they didn't mention the movie. One of the guys said, they had a catch, and he's like, "You don't have a catch, you play catch." I'm like, yeah, that's why didn't you say, "Dad, you want to play catch?" So that's my hot mic. Did anybody else notice that? What are your thoughts? I'm sure Max Bailey will have thoughts on that. Uh, just a
It's funny.
weird use of
Yeah.
language.
Well, there's a screenwriter involved and a director, and it reminds me of something that popped up, something I saw just recently. It was like an interview with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it was about the Terminator. That James Cameron directed that, I believe, right? And
I think you're right.
the famous "I'll be back." Arnold Schwarzenegger felt that he should say "I will be back" because he feels like he's a droid,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
that
Yeah.
it should be exactly right. It shouldn't,
Right.
and he got into this argument with James Cameron. James Cameron basically told him to, and you can go YouTube this. This is like a video interview, and he's told him to, shut the f up. I'm the director, and that's like icon. That's when you think of Terminator and you think of
Yeah.
almost Arnold
Absolutely.
Schwarzenegger.
Right.
And would it still be the same?
Good question.
Would it still be the same if he did what he wanted to do with "I will be back"? But it's interesting. And again, and the way it was worded in this interview was that James Cameron said, I think he was he was on Howard Stern. I think that might have been the interview. I'm not sure, but Arnold Schwarzenegger said, he told me, no, I'll be back. That's how I want it. Do it. And then so it sort
Interesting.
of ties in. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's plenty of movies that are like that. And sometimes actors sort of do what they want to do and others. So my hot mic take, not as serious, not as, I guess, a little more serious than yours. Something that's been annoying me lately in this past week. So a lot of labor strife in the United States very recently. There's the yellow trucking issue with paying the pension. UPS reached a tentative agreement right before
Yeah.
going on strike, and the Teamsters and UPS. And on TikTok, there's been these couple UPS drivers explaining their
Mhm.
position and this and that. And I don't know if you read up much on this deal. It sounds like a pretty good deal, and but the interesting on TikTok is if you leave a comment, these people will reply to comments, and the quote goes up there, right? And the amount of people, and I'm just using the UPS as an example, but this goes to me for everything. I don't know why it is in this country we are complain when others do well for themselves.
Yeah,
I don't. If we love capitalism so much,
right.
if we love it so much, then love it. It drives me crazy that people want to hear, and we're going to experience it here, right? In the next few months, the
Mhm.
UAW is open negotiations with all of the big three, and for years growing up, that always used to be a thing. People around here would complain whenever there's a UAW contract, or when they get their, profit sharing checks. Okay, um, if you love capitalism, and we are a free country, go learn the skills, go put in a resume, go apply for it. Go, even pro athletes, which again, that isn't one where you can just go, okay, I'm going to go try out for the Pistons. But
Right.
I don't care. Th- th- that's none of my business. I'm not the owner. What those guys make, good for them. I mean, good for them. What NFL
Such
players
a,
make,
right.
good for them.
It's such a
Why?
unique skill that they have that,
Yeah,
right.
but like a UPS driver,
Right.
yes, I have I have two graduate degrees, and probably many of those drivers don't, which is fine. That's the route they went. If they're going to make this amount of money, good for them.
Right.
I'm happy for them. The more money they make, the more money that they can put in the economy, the more
Yes.
that can trickle down eventually to other people. If that's everything is supposed to work the way we've been told it's supposed to work, then good for them. I don't understand who these people are that complain. And again, we're in the spot of being public employees, so we got it even worse because there's the famous "I pay your salary" line.
Yes.
Okay, but still, the College of Ed, there's help wanted signs everywhere. You can
Yes.
go ahead and go.
Absolutely.
They make getting the certificate even easier now. Go right ahead. Local police departments, I'll see they'll post their jobs, and people start complaining about like police officers starting at 60, 70, 80,000. Guess what? Go to the academy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right.
This is not socialist communist countries where you're placing your
Mhm.
job. So stop complaining about it and go apply for those jobs. Unemployment's at an all-time low. Go apply for these jobs. And again, when people see these numbers at the high end, I think they think, oh, look at that. But these guys have been probably working this doing for years. All right. So they move up the scale. So you'll probably have to start as a part-time driver, or in the UAW, you got to start, right? Like there's a two-tier system. You got to pay your dues like any job.
One of the most bizarre features of our country. You're right. Why does somebody spend their time angry about what somebody else is making? It's so bizarre.
When they can go do it, like,
Yeah.
or complaining about what a plumber charges, or complaining about what the auto mechanic charges. Like, listen, man, they went and got this skill. You need their services. Now, if they're not ripping you off, there's no problem with it. I had my
Right.
buddy Lonnie out two times before I left on my trip. And, I don't say, hey, I don't want to pay an arm and a leg. I go, what's the damage? And I
Yeah.
write the check. I don't, and good for him. I mean, he has a skill that I don't have, and he should be able to, charge fairly. So again, I get it. There's always a little bit of jealousy, right? There's
Sure.
always going to be, but you should be anything. You should be celebrating these people making. That's the way I was raised, and that's just the way I feel. I will go to my grave feeling that. Yes, I know that a ticket to a Tigers game might be a little more, or this or that, or I get it. Or pilots, that's the other one. A lot of pilots just got a huge raise from the airlines, and the airlines are doing very well. Is my airline ticket probably going to cost more? Yes, but guess what? I want skilled people
Yeah.
flying this plane. Okay, you
Kind
know
of an important deal. Yeah.
yeah, like I get it. So that's my hot mic take.
Well said.
Let's embrace capitalism at its for all points. So all right. So late July, I was listening a big game down at Comerica going on. They got a double header, and
Yeah. Right now as we speak,
yeah,
right?
and we actually lucked out with this rain delay because the star from the Angels is actually pitching when he's supposed to be pitching tomorrow, I think, in Toronto. So Ohani, right? Am I saying it right?
Yeah. I believe so.
Who they're not trading now.
Yeah. So came out today.
Also, big shout out to our Carlson Hall of Famer, Johnny Schreiber, back in action.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, he started the other day, like a one inning start, and then he got in last night. My daughter was at the game. She's on a trip out east. Got this name drop with her girlfriends and say, hey, the
Yeah.
loosely relation, but she dropped it. And they were all impressed. They were, Carlson grad doing good. So,
Now, we have to mention Jim Harbaugh.
yeah,
Although it's
yeah.
not official yet, is it?
No, that's just sort of rumor. But I mean, it's pretty well set out there. I mean, it sounds to me, these people on social, it's not for buying the cheeseburger.
Mhm.
It's for not dealing with the NCAA and being
Being
upfront
truthful.
in the
Yeah.
investigation. Like if you're called in if you're not going to say anything, or you're not going to be, you're going to get in trouble. So Also, other big, because this is all we have to talk about around here is news about the fall teams. It looks like Michigan State's a night game again.
Yeah.
So that's big. There's talk, they're talking on the radio before I got in today about maybe being a little more flexible with the Ohio State Michigan game, just because of the no conferences.
Right.
That last game could mean nothing.
Right.
Right. Like under this new no conference system, if Ohio State and Michigan State are locked as 1 and 2, no matter who wins or loses, well, are you going to play? Are you going to really go after it? I mean, it's a neutral site after that or anywhere, like playing it early might be different. And then of course the Lions are, Super Bowl favorites.
There we go.
So
there we go. I can't deal with you on this topic.
Dan Campbell, second best coach behind Belichick in the NFL. I think that was awarded to him most recently by.
Now, where did you see that? Where did you see
that? I saw that. I thought I saw that somewhere. I don't know. I mean, I thought I saw Mike Duggan has already closed down Woodward on whatever the next day after.
Like play into the excitement that we don't have any. I get it. You like bashing the home teams. We have had nothing around here for so long.
I understand that. The problem is I know this. It seems like this way with the Steelers. The years when the Steelers are supposed to be down, it tends to be their best years, and the years where they're hyping them up, that's when they sort of fall on their face. And that's why I'm a little worried about this year, because the only reason they're not being picked, I see them picked second in some, like 11 wins, still behind Cincinnati. Because again, I'll totally be honest, I think Cincinnati's the overall best team in the AFC North, if not one of the best teams in the AFC. So I get why they're not above them, but they still have them hanging around. And I'm like, oh man, this will probably be Tomlin's first losing year, because now we're getting the hype train going. So I try to avoid that, but whatever. My dad's neighbor's driving to Kansas City for the opening game. It is what it is. So
exciting.
All right, well, we will be back. We hit our August episode. Maybe we'll start getting into the studio too, as it's getting almost back to work time.
We got to get some guests in too. We have a few things.
Yes. We need to stop waiting till Wednesday to start planning the episode. But as we record this on Thursday morning, also let's give a plug to the Simpsonian Run, which is Saturday, August. Can you look on your calendar? Is 18th, 19th?
I believe
we're looking this up. We've plugged this before. It's a great 5K if that is your sort of thing. There's a mile 19th. Saturday, August 19th. There's a mile fun run and a 5K. You can sign up on runmichigan.com. Steve Sims was an excellent girls basketball coach and track and field coach at Grozeal way back when I first started, passed away at a very young age, and all money raised, Bill Stevenson, Ray Geist, Max Bailey all helped sort of put this on, goes to an outstanding female leadership athlete right every year at Grozeal High School. We partner up and help out. Steve was a great guy to me. So if that's your sort of thing, sign up now. Because I think like if you sign up before like the week before the 12th or the 11th, it's a little cheaper. So, but you can register right up to the race day. So, will you be there this year?
I will be. I don't know if I'm running, but my daughter at least
pass the mic will be there. Wiseowl Music, and this is a Wiseowl / Dumb Rat production for entertainment. So maybe we can get Wally down and do a story in a zine about it.
He doesn't do a lot of travel in the summer. We'll see if we can get him here.
Get him down from fashionable Ferndale. All right, that's it, everybody. Have a great week, and we will see you next week.